Howdy, folks. I'm Brian.
I'm Amber.
And, here's some Reddit. So, what did you do today, Amber?
Well, I did a little editing, but I also worked on organizing. We're redoing our apartment. So we got replaced some of our old college furniture with very slight upgrades, and we're kind of rearranging the space.
Yeah, at this point in time, we've just been, rearranging and moving stuff and building stuff for, a week or two.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It's been a little while. It's been an intensive process. My little recording studio, if you want to call it that, has also shifted places. But we're a little happier with how everything's kind of set up, I think. It's a little more, I guess, easy to get to things.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we're just trying to get everything organized. So what have you been doing over your break if you've had one? If you haven't had a break, what have you been doing over your non-break? So, I don't know. Let's get started. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Giving Away My Neighbor's Avocados? So this is a bit bizarre. I have 7 different avocado trees, 3 mango trees, and 4 types of peach trees. Mulberry, pomegranate, lemon, orange, guava, grandilla, and apricot trees in my yard. I also grow almost every herb and veggie that you can think of. It's only my mom and I in the house, so we of course welcome anyone to come into the yard and pick our fruit and veggies throughout the year should they want to / need to. Now, there's one avocado tree that's really close to my neighbor's yard, but doesn't go over her fence. She has been using the avocado tree for free for years. Now, because she is a catering business, I don't mind, and I still don't. Yesterday, someone came over to ask for avocados carrying 2 big baskets. I said of course they're welcome to and just go pick some up and just close the gate when they are done. And then I went back to watching my shows. Avocados are pretty annoying because during the windy times like right now, most ripe ones just end up on the ground and I have to clean them up the next morning. So anyone who comes to pick the avocados up would actually be helping me. I thought nothing of it until this morning when my neighbor came banging down our front door asking why I gave away her avocados. I was a bit confused and asked her what she means. She then said that she's an avocado supplier for a restaurant a few kilometers away, but I ruined it by giving the owner's daughter a basket of avocados. And I ruined her business now because the lady said that she'd just come over here and ask for avocados, and she would even offer my mom and I money, which we wouldn't accept because my grandma raised my mom and I never to sell free things that are needed in the community. She blew up at my mom and I, and then said that we are really witches and everyone thinks that we are, all because my late grandma was a herbalist, and most people try to grow trees, plants, and veggies, etc. in her area, but never succeed, but it's no problem for us. I feel bad that we gave away the fruit and that might have helped our neighbor's livelihood. Her family really needs every cent, but am I the jerk for giving away the avocados?
I don't think that OP is a jerk here. I mean, she has been giving the neighbor avocados for free, the goodness of her heart, but the neighbor knows that she also gives free fruits and veggies to anyone who comes by needing them.
Yeah.
So it's not OP's fault that the neighbor built this whole business model off of the avocados. I mean, what if the avocado trees had failed or come down in a storm or something?
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I think that the neighbor is frustrated and upset, and I think they're rightly so frustrated and upset, but their anger is misplaced. And I think that it's interesting that the business is now just kind of taking these free avocados and earning a profit off of it, but the neighbor was doing the same thing too, right?
Right. She built this business around these avocados that aren't hers to sell. Like, these are OP's, not the neighbor's.
So I think that it's a rough situation for the neighbor for sure, but I don't think OP's the jerk in this situation. I think the neighbor overstepped the bounds by being like, "Oh, everyone thinks you're witches."
Yeah, definitely. Like, well, because again, OP, it sounds like, is doing all of this very charitably, and she didn't even know who the person was when they came by or what their plans were for the avocados. She's just like, someone needs food, okay, have avocados.
Yeah.
And so for the neighbor to be like, after all this years of Opie giving her free avocados that she's used to for her family's livelihood, to be like, you're witches, like, that's just so uncalled for.
It really was. And I mean, I guess the thing here is that the neighbor does have some options, right? Well, the neighbor can start and get up early and pick up all the avocados if they really want to, and then that way when the person comes by to collect them for the restaurant, they've already picked them up, right? So I mean, there are things that the neighbor can do here. They can find a new person to supply, avocados for.
Yeah, there's probably lots of restaurants that would need them. Like, they may not be quite as close, but...
So I think that they are kind of being narrow-minded here, and I think that there is plenty of opportunity, hopefully, for them to continue to make and expand their business here. And alternatively, I mean, I guess they could try to buy the tree, or at least one of the trees. I don't know. It's a rough situation for them, for sure.
Yeah, but again, like, I don't think that OP could be the jerk here in any way, because these are OP's trees that, she and her mom have been letting these people use for free.
Exactly.
And so any disputes that are going on is between all of the rest of them. Some of the other people are being various degrees of jerks, but I don't think you can fault OP or her mom at all for giving people free food.
Exactly.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling my brother-in-law out for his weaponized incompetence and calling him pathetic at dinner? I'm a 24-year-old female, and I have a sister who's a 32-year-old female who has a husband, 38-year-old male, who is the poster child of weaponized incompetence. They have 5 kids, 10-year-old girl, 8-year-old boy, 5-year-old boy, 3-year-old girl, and she's pregnant. My sister works a full-time job, 40-plus hours a week, cleans the entire house, cooks, takes care of all her children without him doing anything. It is seriously mind-blowing that she wakes up at 4 a.m., cooks breakfast, does chores, gets all the kids ready for school, takes them all to school and daycare, and all he does is stay home and work. And when his kids get home, after my sister picks them up, of course, he will play with them for a little and play video games until he falls asleep. She actually makes more than him. My fiancé, a 26-year-old male, and I had to stay with them for 6 weeks while our home was being renovated, and since we both work from home, we helped her, and it is amazing how much happier she is when she has help. I help with the kids, and my fiancé even drove her to doctor's appointments. Her husband literally only acknowledges he is a parent when his family is around, and then he is a God-fearing, hard-working father of 5. He is the one who wanted more kids. She wanted to stop after the last baby, but he needed more boys. I am seriously concerned not only for her, but her kids as well, because now her eldest is seeing what's happening and trying to help, but my sister is prideful and refuses to let her child do anything. Me and this man have never gotten along. He's been acting like this since their 8-year-old was born. I've tried talking to her about leaving, but she doesn't want her kids to grow up in a broken home, and unfortunately her experience with our parents' divorce was completely different than mine, so she doesn't understand that a divorce would benefit her kids here because she thinks they need their mom and dad together. Cut to this past weekend. Her and her husband threw a pre-Thanksgiving potluck where our entire family and his were there. I stayed with my sister a few days before because I knew he wouldn't help. So we're at dinner, all talking, and I mentioned that we are trying for a baby, and my brother-in-law makes an offhand comment to him about how hard fatherhood is.
Very.
And I snapped and said, like you would know. He looked taken aback and asked me what I meant, and I unloaded on him, calling him pathetic excuse for a man who makes my 8 months pregnant sister do everything for their family. I went off for a solid 10 minutes, and he sat there shrinking in his seat. I left. Last night, my sister called me and thanked me for standing up for her and told me she appreciated me. Although today I get a very nasty text from him telling me I'm a terrible person because I lied in front of his family. His mom is angry at him and is moving in with them to help her out, and I've made him the laughing stock of his family. He certainly thinks so, but am I the jerk for doing this? No, OP is not the jerk here.
Well, I agree. One thing that I'm a little confused about is OP's their sister. Is it their sister? Mm-hmm. Yeah, their sister won't allow their children to help around the house.
Yeah, that's strange.
I mean, isn't that part of like chores to let kids do chores? Not that this excuses like her husband's behavior, but it just seems odd that she would be outright refused to allow her children to help around the house.
Well, she could be concerned about, because the oldest one is a girl. The oldest and youngest are girls, so she might not want to get that gender division of labor in, and might not, like, I don't know if he has expectations for the boys and they don't do chores.
That's very true. So, yeah, I agree with you. That gendered division of labor, she might just be trying to dissuade so that
the kid doesn't end up falling into the same trap that she's now in.
Yeah. Yeah, I for sure think that OP isn't the jerk in this situation. Like, it sounds like they had firsthand experience of, their sister's husband being just someone who does the layabout, doesn't take part in their, doesn't help out, isn't pulling their full weight in the household. And I think that's a shame. I really do. I think that it sounds like OP's sister is so much happier when she has help and when she's able to not have to like juggle everything. And what kind of partnership are you really in if one person's doing every single thing,
Exactly.
So I feel bad for OP's sister here.
Yeah, for sure.
Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for refusing to report my coworker for harassment despite my husband's insistence?" I work with a guy named Carlos, and he's just a bit socially awkward, but he's sweet all things considered. Last week, he asked me out on a date, and I declined. I told my husband about it when he asked me how my day went that evening. He seemed a little unsettled, but didn't say anything. Fast forward to last Friday, and my coworker was having a birthday party for her son, and I went and I brought my husband. Carlos came up to me and told me that my dress looked nice, and I thanked him. Husband didn't say anything then. But once we got into the car, he started talking about how he has a lot of nerve, and that his inappropriate behavior is escalating. I thought he was joking, so even though I didn't find it funny, I laughed. But he was serious. I told him it wasn't a big deal. After a bit more back and forth, we moved past it. Until last night when Carlos gave me a ride home after my car wouldn't start and my husband wouldn't pick up his phone. Yes, Carlos offered, but only because Nick wouldn't pick up. I think the idea of reporting him is ridiculous, but my husband is now saying that if I don't, quote, put a stop to this, he's, being Carlos of course, is going to do the same thing to other girls at work.
The horror is complimenting them on their dresses, giving them safe ride home.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, to be honest, but am I the jerk for not reporting him? If he knew I was married when he asked me out, it wasn't because I told him. I did tell him when he got rejected, though.
So I don't think OP's the jerk here. I mean, none of this behavior well, first of all, it's kind of her choice whether she's comfortable reporting or not in the first place, regardless of the behavior. Yeah. But nothing here screams major red flags. Like, she asked him out. It sounds like he may not even known that she was married.
Yeah, I think that Carlos probably, just all the situation, the facts at hand, he probably just didn't. He probably wasn't, like, trying to, like, encroach or anything like that. He just probably liked OP and was like, oh, you want to go out?
Yeah, and it sounds like he didn't pressure her. When she said no, he just backed off and went back to a cordial relationship.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he's out there punishing OP now that she rejected him, right? And he's not like talking bad about her behind her back. He even was like, oh, hey, you want to ride? It sounds like you're having a hard time getting home.
Yeah, and so that's the thing is, like, it sounds like his behavior toward her has been completely, like, normal coworker behavior, polite, friendly, and, like, so to report him, like, what would she even report him for? Like,
you gave me a ride home and complimented me on my dress.
Exactly. Like, you know, I mean, I guess she could report him for asking her out at work, maybe. But that's still, like, really iffy in the first place. Like,
I think, like, generally asking out, as long as it isn't, like, constant harassment and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it hasn't escalated to that point, so.
And, I mean, again, like, I could understand it if Carlos offered her a ride home and with the condition of being like, hey, I'll give you a ride home, but I think you might have to do something for me. Yeah,
if he did something creepy, like 100% that would be like fine for her to report.
Yeah.
But nothing he has done here is reportable. Like, again, he gave her a ride home and without being a creep. I'm assuming she would tell us if he did something untoward on the ride home. So, like, it was just a normal, friendly ride home.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he just sounds like a nice, helpful person. And he sounds like he took the rejection really well. And so...
well adjusted.
Yeah.
Good job, Carlos. Bad job, OP's husband.
Yeah, it sounds like OP's husband is really insecure. Doesn't like that other men might find his wife attractive, which is interesting. Like... if you marry an attractive person, you have to kind of assume that there might be other people in the world who will find them attractive.
Yeah. And, I mean, maybe it's also that Carlos just really likes OP's personality, too.
Yeah, and they just click really well, and so he feels maybe threatened by that. Our next story is, am I the jerk for choosing to live in a city which will make it nearly impossible for my ex to see his child? I'm a 28-year-old female, and I got divorced from my ex-husband John, a 38-year-old male of 6 years in June of this year. In 2019, I was diagnosed with PCOS, and after multiple treatments and many complications, I was told I probably wouldn't be able to have a child naturally. We'd been trying for a baby for 3 years, and as expected, this devastated us. Our marriage suffered because, while I eventually made my peace with the situation, John couldn't seem to get past it. I suggested fostering and adoption, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. After months of hostility, zero intimacy, and withdrawn affection, I asked for couples therapy. He responded that he'd rather have a divorce. He said he'd been checked out for a while and there was no point dragging things out. I was heartbroken, and it didn't help that I was stuck living with him throughout the lockdown. I eventually accepted the end of our marriage, and as we went through the divorce process, I prepared for the move back to my hometown across the country. Shortly before I moved out, we slept together. I know. It was an impulsive mistake fueled by alcohol and loneliness, and he made sure I knew it meant nothing. Anyway, I eventually moved back, and it's been wonderful. I'd forgotten how much I love being near my family and friends. I was slowly adjusting to single life when I found out that I'm pregnant. Yep, I know, right? What are the chances? I told John about the pregnancy, and he was over the moon, but for some reason, he assumed I would be moving back to live with him. When I told him that I have no intention of moving back, but rather raising our child in my hometown, he lost it and accused me of trying to keep our child from him out of spite. I told him that he could move if he wanted to be closer to his child, but he insisted that he wouldn't be able to find work out here, that it would make more sense for me to move back because I've only been at my new job a few weeks, and it wouldn't be as much of a sacrifice as leaving the job he's had for 11 years. He offered to pay for the move and a new apartment, etc., but I turned it down and explained that if I stay, I'll be able to keep working because my family is here to support me, and that my mom and sisters have already been such a big help with finding a place to stay, preparing for the baby, seasoned mom advice, moral and emotional support, and so I feel more confident having them around. If I moved back, I would essentially have to be a stay-at-home mom, which I really don't want. He told his family about the baby without warning me, and now I'm being bombarded with criticism from every direction, and being threatened with legal action for alienating them from the baby. I don't see why I should be the one to compromise after having to up and move my whole life the way I did.
So,
I definitely don't think OP is in the wrong here.
This guy just views OP as a baby making factory, it feels like.
Yeah, that is what it feels like.
He's like, this means nothing. And, he's acting like a complete brat the entire, end part of the relationship just because OP couldn't have a child. And he didn't compromise. He wasn't willing to be flexible. He wasn't like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm really disappointed that we couldn't have children naturally, but, adoption's great. Something like that, But no. He was like, oh, you can't have children for me, so you mean nothing to me.
Yeah, that's the thing, is he completely tore OP down, basically our marriage means nothing if you can't have kids. And then now that she would be producing a child that is, genetically part his, he's all about that and wants the kid. Like, the OP doesn't matter to him at this point in time. Like, it should be clear to her that he doesn't care about her. He only sees her as a means for children.
Yeah, and I think that's actually really scary. And I'm glad that OP got out of that situation.
Yeah, I'm really glad she got out before the kid came and got settled at home where she has a support system. It sounds like she hasn't, I mean, I guess she moved across the country, but she hasn't had a lot of support from her friends and family in a while, which is also a little worrying. Well,
it sounds like she was very isolated where she was.
Yeah, and that's not good.
That's a red flag.
It is a red flag.
There's a lot of red flags here.
Yeah, so I mean, I think OP is well within her right to stay where she is. She has a job she likes. She has friends and family. I really hope she does stay here, and he can be grouchy all he wants, but he has made it clear he has no respect for OP.
Yeah, exactly. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Happy Thanksgiving, potentially.
Happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate.
If you celebrate it. Happy Friday Junior if you celebrate
Friday
that.
Junior.
We hope you folks are having a great time. Hopefully you're spending lots of time with family if you're doing the Thanksgiving thing. I think that's hopefully a little bit of a relaxing time for you. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!